This is a demo on using OBS Studio to record your screen. It's for handing in your assignments. So it doesn't matter what platform you have, Windows, Mac, Linux. I'm on a Mac here. Doesn't matter what you're on. You can download whatever your version is. When that's downloading, this little page pops up. And this is a handy little quick start guide if you want to look at that. Has some tips. So this pops up and then gives you a few steps, which we can just kind of run through some of these together. What exactly that means. I'll do a part 2 specifically about this. If you're on a Mac, you need an extra app to capture desktop audio, which is this black hole app. So we'll do that in part 2. On a PC, strangely enough, this is one point where the PC is more user-friendly than the Mac is. So we downloaded that. Open it up, and here we go. So we've got this empty sort of canvas. So this does a whole lot more than what we're gonna use it for. We can look some more into all the other kind of studio broadcasting functionality of this. There's like so much stuff it can do. For now, all we care about is the sources, our audio mixer here. We don't care about scene transitions, and we care about looking at the settings, and then basically just start recording and then stop recording. So to start, let's imagine I just made this quick little thing here, which shows. Let me just play this audio here. I think actually this won't actually record the audio because I just have the mic audio going through right now. But let me see if I can turn this up. So I just had to hold the mic up to the speaker for a minute. So this is just a really simple thing, birdsong, and it's triggering this little level thing. Let's turn that down, and let's pause that for a second. So let's say we want to record our screen and show what's happening, do a little voiceover to talk about like how you put all this stuff together. So how do we do that? Let's look at sources. So first of all, what we want to do is we want to just capture this entire display. There's options for selecting all kinds of cool stuff. We could do a window capture, which would only capture specific windows. I don't like that as much. I'll just show that really quickly here. So window capture, let's say, whatever, call this Touch Designer. Okay. And then we do that. And when we hit this little menu, this shows us all of the possible windows that we can capture. So down here, Touch Designer. See that shows up. And then we see our window. So that works in some situations. I don't like to do this because a lot of times, during a demo, maybe I want to go away from Touch Designer, show something in Chrome or some other program. What this does, it will not capture any other window though. So even if on my screen, if I'm looking at Chrome for a second, it will not show that. It will only show whatever window you tell it to capture. So again, that could be great. Certain situations, the way I usually work, I'm always passing between so many different windows. It doesn't really make sense. And I have mistakenly thought I was recording a window when actually I was not before. So instead of, let's just hit the little minus. Instead of doing window capture, typically I will just do display capture. And I'm just going to call this iMac because that's just my main screen here. And when we do that, so we can see built-in Retina display. So it's going to capture anything that is on my monitor, built-in Retina display. And so it kind of creates this like feedback thing because it is capturing OBS and OBS is then capturing itself, sort of a thing. But that's fine. It looks good. You could see that I actually shrunk down my display 1600 by 900. I'm going to hit OK. So when we do that, let me. Because this is really confusing now. So now this is like kind of big for my canvas. So let me just kind of resize this, resize, and then it kind of snaps to the corners there. Okay, great. So let's say we just have that recording for a little bit. I would then go into Touch Designer, and as long as I'm recording, it's going to capture everything nice and beautiful, really clear. So the reason why it's 1600 by 900, if I just go into my preferences here, and let me just take that off for a second. By the way, I'm recording this right now in QuickTime Player because it would be weird to like show OBS and also record in OBS at the same time. So QuickTime Player is another thing you could do screen recording in, but OBS gives you more options and it's just more widely used. If we look at displays, so normally when I'm working, I will typically, be in this kind of default or, more space. This even makes it bigger. The thing is, when I'm recording, typically, I want to make sure text is visible, easily readable, fine lines show up easily. So when I'm about to do recording, I typically go in here and have this smaller resolution of screen. You can see it's 1600 by 900. And that ensures that when I record, things are more legible. If we look into, like from here, if I go maybe in settings for a moment, just to jump ahead, and here in settings, so general, we don't touch anything. Stream, we don't touch anything. That's more for live streaming. So output, or no, video actually is what I care about. So OBS is recording at 1920 by 1080. So you can imagine if my screen was this large one, especially, that's 3200 by 1800. So it's taking all those pixels and then it's going to scale it down to just 1920 by 1080. Therefore, all of the tiny text that's on your huge screen is going to get shrunk down even more. And then by the time you're watching it, that you recorded in OBS, most likely it would not be readable at all, especially if you're watching it on a smaller, like a laptop screen or something. So to get around that, that's why I kind of click on this right here. So the screen itself is 1600 by 900. OBS is recording slightly larger, so it's actually scaling up the content a little bit. So I wouldn't do this for like a master copy of a video that I want to submit to someplace. For tutorials or whatever, it's fine. If I if I was working with really fine lines and I was noticing that it just was looking too blurry or something, I would probably tweak it some more and maybe go to a larger resolution here. So this is pretty close to 1920 by 1080, so there'd be a slight downscale. So just something to be aware of when you're recording. To go in here and change your display resolution. And let's go ahead and just look at all the other settings. If we go, general. So really none of this stuff you should need to change. You can play around with that more if you want. For live streaming, if you work with Twitch or YouTube Live or whatever, those things, you can get a stream key from your account there. So this stream key is what connects, let's say, OBS to like my Twitch account, let's say. Output is important for us. So if we look, when you first start up, when you first download OBS, it'll say run the auto configuration wizard. So that will give you like an option when you first open it. So I could do this. I go Tools, Auto Configuration Wizard, and that'll essentially ask, okay, do you mostly want to do this for streaming? Do you want to use this more for recording? If you choose for recording, it's the same thing. You can just kind of do the settings yourself manually. Also, there's not so many different changes to it. This stuff doesn't really change. If you're on a PC, then instead of software, by default, this will show a hardware accelerated encoding, which is better. So make sure you have the hardware accelerated encoding if you're on a PC. Same down here. So for encoder, instead of software, it should say hardware. And recording path, so you just choose a hard drive or whatever. So this is where it's going to store all the files. So recording quality, I've typically done either high quality, medium file size, or indistinguishable quality. So you can run some tests. High quality, I find there's some visible crunchiness, a slight pixelation. You can kind of tell there's like a compression to it. And also I feel like the colors are a little bit, they're not as vibrant on this setting. So indistinguishable quality looks pretty much identical to my screen. So I like that. Of course, it's just larger file size. So you can experiment. Maybe the first time you do something, maybe try out like a 30-second snippet in each of these, and just have a look and just see, can you tell? Like, does it matter to you? How big do you want things to store on your hard drive or whatever? I'd say for uploading your assignments to Canvas, I would recommend that you just do high quality medium file size. For other things that are like really important to get really sharp lines and the accurate color, then you might go up to this right here. So maybe for now I'll just hit high quality. Recording format, MP4 is usually good. You could also do MOV if you want. I would avoid all these other versions. These are like highly compressed formats. But MP4 is good. If you're doing like a H.264 encoding with MP4, then that's great for uploading online. Okay, so that's good. Audio, right now we don't need to worry about all these other things. Right, so video, it's by default 1920 1080 should be good. For the auto configuration wizard, it will ask you if you want 60 frames a second. So this could matter. I mean, if you were, for people that record, let's say like games or something, that really matters. I think in order to keep a smaller file size and for us to upload our assignments to Canvas, I would say just keep it at 30 frames a second. There's really no need to go higher than that. Hotkeys I never really worry about, but you can look at it if you want. And also advanced is just very sort of technical specs for the video signal stuff you don't really need to worry about. Okay, great. So we set up this source. Let me do this once again, actually, because there was like that weird thing I had to do. So I do display capture, give it a name that makes sense. And I have two displays set up. Actually, I have to the right of me, I have a separate monitor, so you can actually select which one that you want to grab. You could, if you want, you could go ahead and crop that if you want, but I think it's just easier to not do that. So you can see when I did this at first, the screen that it's capturing is just sized super duper huge. So especially if you're changing up the display resolution down here in preferences. So just make sure you resize it. So the entire screen is being captured by the OBS canvas. Great. So other tricks we can do. Let me actually. There we go. So we can kind of see touch designer behind us. Great. What if I wanted to show myself over here? We can add a little webcam feed. So let's do plus, and let's add, where is that? Video capture device. And I'll just call this FaceTime. And select that one. I've got a number of different things here. We can talk later about cam twist and NDI. There could be other videos, I think. There I am. Hey, how's it going? Oh, my hair's all messed up. So this could be this standard. It's fine. You could go ahead and shrink that down if you want, but it should be just fine keeping it at 720. And then that shows up right here. And it's kind of nice to shrink that down. Maybe I'm just in the corner down here. And other things we could do, I actually have a second webcam just plugged in via USB. So like last week when I was showing the Arduino stuff, let's do another video capture device. And I think it's just a Logitech, so I'm going to call it that. HD webcam. There it is. Okay, and I've got a little MIDI controller there. Cool. Okay, cool. So this is upside down though. You can see there's my hand playing it. We can go ahead and do a lot of transformations. So right click and let's do transform, rotate, flip, do all this other cool stuff. I'm going to rotate that one so now it's the right side up. Cool. And so the way I have right now, by default, this mic and aux audio input is going to be there. Assuming most of you don't have like mics hooked up, this should default to your built-in microphone. So you should see that just fine. On a PC, you will also see desktop audio, which means anything that you're playing on your system, it's also going to be recorded. Like if you're playing a YouTube video, or let's say right here in Touch Designer, this audio playing, and if it's going to the device, like that's automatically going to go to desktop audio here and then be recorded with everything, which is great. On a Mac, like I'm on right now, it's getting my microphone input, but if I played this audio here, right, so it's coming out of the speakers, but it's not picking up right here. I mean, my mic is barely picking up, but the mic's not really made to pick up the sound like that. So that's why we would need the black hole thing, which I'll cover in part 2. Okay, let's stop that again. Okay. So that's, as of now, that should be enough for you. All these other things, I mean, we could look at also like audio input capture. If you had different mics, let's see if I did like built-in mic. And I get a thing here. So iMac microphone. It's a black hole I already have kind of set up right now, but I'll show that later. So I think for you, depending if you're on a laptop or whatever, this will probably say built-in mic, and so that's what you would select. Although it should already be default right there. So I don't need it. Great. So everything else, I mean, you could add extra text on top if you want. Siphon, this is like streaming video from some other application, which could be really cool. NDI is the same thing. It's, I've got certain apps. Let's say like on my phone, I've got an NDI camera app. So I could be like shooting video with my phone and then over the network connect to my computer here. And then that shows up as an NDI source in OBS, which is super cool. And then all these other things. I've never actually used these, but they're worth looking into if you want to. Browser, if you only want to select like Chrome or whatever. But again, I would say just do display capture and it will get everything that is on your screen. Okay. So that's like pretty good. So let's do, like if I start recording, and I'm going to hide that. So let's imagine that. Okay, I'm going through here. I'm talking about my work. Maybe I'm showing like, oh, then I did analyze, RMS, and then I'm connecting that to the brightness right here. And that's it, over. So you tell a little story, stop recording. And if we look, I think by default I have it set to record OBS. So by default, it's the name of the file is the date and the time. And so here it is. So I don't know if you could tell, like I said, the color looks a little bit desaturated, but you can see very nicely I've got the webcam feed, the other webcam here in the corner on top of that, so you can compose it however you wish. And I think that's enough. Okay, cool. That's part one.